Israel, a name echoing through millennia, where prophecy, war, and rebirth intertwine. From ancient nomads to a modern nation reborn in 1948, this land's story is woven with faith, loss, and hope. Here, ancient stones whisper to bustling streets and history shapes the present. This is the journey from sacred covenant to modern controversy, the story of Israel. The story of Israel is one of faith, struggle, and resilience. How a people, scattered for centuries, never lost their bond with their homeland. Their sacred texts became a cornerstone of Western civilization, and their hope endured through exile and hardship. In 1948, that ancient dream became reality with the declaration of the State of Israel, a new chapter in an epic story. The story of Israel begins not with armies, but with a promise under the stars, a spiritual encounter in the ancient Near East. Abram, called by an unseen God, left everything behind to journey into the unknown, guided by faith. God promised him countless descendants, a great nation, and the land of Canaan. This covenant became the foundation of a people, a land, and a faith that endures. The covenant did not end with Abraham. It was a legacy passed down through his lineage, solidifying the foundations of the future nation with each generation. The promise was reaffirmed with Abraham's son, Isaac. Isaac's life was a testament to faith, most famously demonstrated in the story of his near sacrifice, a profound test of Abraham's devotion. The continuation of the covenant through Isaac was crucial, establishing a clear line of inheritance for the divine promise. It was through Isaac that the next chapter of the Hebrew saga would unfold, ensuring that the nascent identity of this special people was not lost but carried forward, strengthening the bond between the family and their unique destiny in the land of Canaan. The narrative then passes to Isaac's son Jacob. Jacob's story is one of struggle, deception, and ultimate transformation. After a mysterious, night-long wrestling match with a divine being, Jacob's name is changed to Israel, which means one who struggles with God. This renaming is profoundly symbolic. It signifies that the identity of this people would be forged through challenge, perseverance, and a continuous engagement with the divine. From that point on, Jacob's descendants would be known as the children of Israel, or Israelites. The personal story of one man's struggle became the collective name and identity for an entire nation, framing their history as a journey of wrestling with their faith and fate. Jacob, now named Israel, went on to have 12 sons: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, Issachar, Zebulun, Joseph, and Benjamin. These 12 sons became the progenitors of the 12 tribes of Israel. Each tribe developed its own distinct identity, territory, and leadership. Yet they were all bound together by their common ancestry and their shared heritage as the children of Israel. This tribal structure formed the social and political bedrock of the Israelite people for centuries. It created a framework for a unified nation composed of individual, yet related clans. The story of Joseph, Jacob's favored son sold into slavery by his jealous brothers, becomes a pivotal turning point that moves the family from Canaan to Egypt. This migration to Egypt, prompted by a severe famine in Canaan, set the stage for the next major chapter in Israel's story: slavery and eventual liberation. The 12 tribes who entered Egypt as a small extended family would grow into a large and populous people over several hundred years. Although they were living in a foreign land, their identity as the children of Israel, descendants of the patriarchs and heirs to the covenant, was maintained. The promises made to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were not forgotten. They were preserved in their oral traditions, becoming the source of their hope for an eventual return to the promised land and the ultimate fulfillment of their destiny as a great nation. The Israelites, once welcomed in Egypt, became enslaved under a fearful Pharaoh, forced into harsh labor and oppression. Yet from this suffering, Moses emerged, a leader called by God to demand freedom. After 10 devastating plagues, Pharaoh finally let them go. The miraculous parting of the Red Sea marked their liberation, a defining act of deliverance remembered for generations. After escaping Egypt, the Israelites wandered the Sinai wilderness, free but not yet a nation. At Mount Sinai, their relationship with God was formalized. Moses received the 10 Commandments, a divine law uniting them as a people. This covenant marked Israel's true birth, a nation defined by faith, law, and a shared purpose. After centuries as 12 tribes led by judges, The Israelites united under King David, a brilliant leader who secured peace and expanded their borders. His son Solomon brought wealth, wisdom, and architectural splendor, making Israel a respected power. This golden age, with Jerusalem as its heart, became a lasting symbol of unity and hope for generations. King David's capture of Jerusalem made it the political and spiritual heart of Israel, uniting the tribes. David brought the Ark of the Covenant, transforming Jerusalem into the nation's sacred center. Solomon built the first temple, a breathtaking symbol of faith and unity. The temple became the focus of worship, a powerful sign of Israel's devotion and identity. After Solomon's death, his son Rehoboam's arrogance split the kingdom. 10 tribes broke away, forming Israel in the north, while Judah remained in the south. The two kingdoms often fought, weakening themselves. Assyria conquered Israel, scattering its people, the 10 lost tribes. Later, Babylon destroyed Jerusalem and exiled Judah, ending the United Kingdom's story. In 586 BCE, Jerusalem fell to Babylon, a national and spiritual catastrophe. The temple was destroyed, the people exiled, and hope seemed lost. By the waters of Babylon, they wept for Zion, questioning if God had abandoned them. Yet in exile, they clung to faith, reimagined worship, and preserved their identity, ensuring Judaism's survival for generations. After 50 years in Babylon, Cyrus the Great conquered the city and allowed exiles to return home. Many Jews journeyed back to a desolate Jerusalem, facing hardship and opposition. With encouragement from prophets, they rebuilt the modest Second Temple, re-establishing Jerusalem as their spiritual center. Yet, many remained in Babylon, beginning the Jewish diaspora, flourishing abroad while maintaining deep ties to their homeland. The Second Temple stood for centuries as Judea changed hands from empire to empire. Greek rule brought new ideas and deep tensions, leading to harsh oppression under Antiochus, who desecrated the temple. The Maccabees rebelled, recaptured Jerusalem, and rededicated the temple, a victory still celebrated as Hanukkah. But centuries later, Roman conquest brought destruction, ending the Second Temple era and scattering the Jewish people. For nearly 2,000 years after the Second Temple's destruction, Jews lived as a scattered nation, holding fast to their identity and the dream of returning to Zion. This hope echoed in daily prayers and at every Passover, next year in Jerusalem. But the 19th century brought new dangers: modern anti-Semitism and violent pogroms. Jewish thinkers argued the only solution was to reclaim their homeland. Thus, Zionism was born, a movement to turn ancient hope into national revival. Zionism needed a leader and vision. That leader was Theodor Herzl, a secular journalist from Vienna. Witnessing the Dreyfus Affair, Herzl realized Jews needed a nation of their own. In 1896, he published Der Judenstaat, calling for a Jewish state in Palestine. Herzl's efforts led to the First Zionist Congress, uniting Jews worldwide and launching the modern Zionist movement. Even before Theodor Herzl organized the political arm of Zionism, the practical work of return had already begun. Inspired by the earlier wave of Zionist thought and fleeing the brutal pogroms in Russia, small groups of idealistic pioneers began immigrating to Ottoman-controlled Palestine in the late 19th century. This first major wave of settlement, known as the First Aliyah, started in 1882. These were not wealthy philanthropists, but young, determined men and women who were committed to working the land with their own hands. They believed in the redemption of the land through physical labor, seeing it as a way to both reclaim their ancestral soil and transform themselves from a people of commerce into a people of agriculture. The reality they faced was incredibly harsh. The Palestine they arrived in was not the land flowing with milk and honey of the Bible. It was a sparsely populated and neglected province of the declining Ottoman Empire. Much of the land was either swampy marshland infested with malaria or barren rocky hillsides that had been over-farmed and eroded for centuries. These early settlers, many of whom came from intellectual backgrounds with no farming experience, battled disease, poverty, a difficult climate, and the suspicion of the local Arab population. Many failed, succumbing to sickness or despair, but those who persevered managed to establish the first modern Jewish agricultural settlements, such as Rishon LeZion and Petah Tikva. A second Aliyah followed between 1904 and 1914, bringing a new wave of even more ideologically driven pioneers, largely from the Russian Empire. These settlers were deeply influenced by socialist ideals and were determined to create a new egalitarian Jewish society from the ground up. They were the founders of the kibbutz, a unique collective community where all property was shared and all work was done for the common good. These kibbutzim became the backbone of the Zionist enterprise, serving not only as agricultural farms but also as centers for defense, culture, and social experimentation. They were laboratories for building the institutions of a future state. Alongside the effort to cultivate the land, these pioneers undertook another monumental task: the revival of Hebrew as a modern spoken language. For centuries, Hebrew had been primarily a liturgical language, used for prayer and sacred texts. A passionate lexicographer named Eliezer ben Yehuda made it his life's mission to resurrect Hebrew as a living tongue. He painstakingly coined new words for modern concepts and insisted on speaking only Hebrew in his home. His efforts, combined with the establishment of Hebrew-only schools in the new settlements, were remarkably successful. The revival of the ancient language became a powerful tool for unifying Jewish immigrants from diverse backgrounds and forging a new, shared national culture in their ancient homeland. As the Zionist movement grew, Europe descended into darkness with the rise of the Nazis. The Holocaust saw 6 million Jews murdered, two-thirds of European Jewry, through systematic genocide in ghettos and camps like Auschwitz. Survivors emerged to find their homes gone and their communities destroyed, stranded in displaced persons camps with nowhere to go. The world's guilt and horror at the Holocaust transformed Zionism from a political movement into an urgent necessity for a Jewish homeland. The ashes of Auschwitz fueled the final push for Jewish sovereignty, turning global sympathy into political action. After World War II, Britain handed the fate of Palestine to the United Nations. The UN proposed partition 2 states, one Jewish, one Arab, with Jerusalem internationalized. Jewish leaders led by Ben-Gurion accepted the plan as a historic opportunity. Arab leaders rejected it outright. On November 29, 1947, the UN voted 33 in favor, 13 against, 10 abstentions. The plan passed. Jews celebrated worldwide, but the Arab world vowed to fight the partition. The stage was set for the birth of Israel and for war. The UN vote did not guarantee statehood. Violence erupted as the British prepared to leave. Jewish and Arab forces clashed in a brutal civil war, with the Jewish community fighting for survival. Despite US hesitation and overwhelming odds, Ben-Gurion insisted on declaring independence. On May 14, 1948, in Tel Aviv, Ben-Gurion proclaimed the State of Israel. As Hatikva played, Israel was born, immediately invaded by 5 Arab armies. The struggle for survival had only just begun. Israel's rebirth in 1948 was the culmination of 4,000 years of Jewish endurance and longing. From Abraham's covenant to Herzl's vision, the dream of return survived exile, persecution, and the Holocaust. The Declaration of Independence fulfilled ancient prophecy and modern struggle, returning the Jewish people to history. But this triumph marked a new beginning, not an end, ushering in fresh challenges and conflicts. The story of Israel remains unfinished, shaped by resilience and hope.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit, I got no love for the
Israel's creation reversed 2,000 years of statelessness, transforming Jewish identity and destiny. Yet its birth also meant displacement for Palestinian Arabs, igniting a conflict that endures to this day. Israel became a sanctuary and a modern nation, thriving amid constant threats and unresolved questions. Its story is one of both triumph and tragedy, a testament to faith, identity, and the struggle for home. The history of Israel is still being written, its future, like its past, shaped by hope and challenge.